Hey everybody, what's up? How you doing? Well, I hope you're doing well. And long time no see, right? And about that, I can mention briefly, that yes, I have taken some time off, some time away, from these platforms. And basically, what I can say is that um, that's probably because, firstly, these platforms seem to have, you know, resulted, in much reach, of new people, of people that maybe possibly interested in learning English or Spanish also, because I also offer Spanish classes. Okay, I have also the same page, even the same format, or designs and stuff, but for Spanish classes online. Okay, it's Spanish classes online, ABC. Okay, you can find that, with that same name. Anyways, the point is that I didn't find much, results, as I was saying, in terms of the people that I was able to reach, to get to more possible students and stuff. So, that's part of it. And by the way, also, I just wanted to also briefly ask you if it's possible for you to leave any likes, comments, and sharing with any other people, friends, whoever that might be interested, following the pages, etc. You probably know about all that stuff. That those kind of things seem to be things that will contribute to that page or channel to reach more people. So, anyways, it was just briefly. I just wanted to briefly mention that. Any contribution is widely appreciated. Okay, and that's just it. And by the way, today I decided to do this class. Okay, in English directly. So for the people that can follow a class directly, entirely in English, okay, just maybe with little examples or clarifications in Spanish, but as you can see, this class is spoken entirely in English. So well. And besides that, okay, also about this thing about having been a little bit away from the platforms. Also, take into account that much of what may seem quite easy, even if it's something that's only written, like for example this post that which we are gonna work with today. Even those posts that may seem easy, because for example it's just, and maybe because of that, because it's something just written, you may think that it's something just easy to type and that's it, but it's really not. Okay, even the simplest posts require time. Okay, mostly, at least, in my case, because I always, of course, try to bring quality material. Okay, So I try to check it as much as possible, okay, and to make it as complete, okay, as possible too. So all that takes time. And well, I just wanted also to mention that, and well, so that's it, friends. So let's just move on to the exercise. Okay, so in this exercise, we'll see what was in the last post, okay? And it's about interesting stuff to know about English. So these, concepts or even exercises, are gonna help, in constructing, some of your concepts, about English, things that you can know, and be aware of. Okay, you're gonna see that now. Okay, with examples of the items here. Okay, these are things that that can help you. Okay, in your knowledge base, if you will. Okay, in your knowledge library, because they tell you about an aspect of the language, okay, which can be helpful, just to know it, okay. We're gonna see now, okay, what we are talking about. So first item. A good amount of words in English have different meanings, sometimes even up to 4 or more. Examples: light, feet, leaves, left, letter, park, and type. Well, so you can see here, okay, just some examples, okay, of words that have different meanings. Okay, let's see. For example, light, it's like sunlight, for example, or lights in your house, or it can be something that has low weight, okay. The opposite of heavy, okay. Okay, next word, for example, feet is the plural of foot, okay? Where your shoes go, what you put your shoes on, okay? And also is a measure of altitude, or even the height, of a person. So it can be both things, okay? Then, for example, leaves is, conjugation of the verb leave, for third person, okay? He, she, it leaves, okay? Which means to go out, from somewhere, okay? But it can also be, the leaves of a tree, okay? Singular is with F, leaf, okay? Okay, left is the past of leave, okay? And it's also, of course, the opposite of right, okay? Left and right, okay? Letter can be any letter of the alphabet, but it can also be what you write to someone else, okay, like an email, something similar, okay. It's mostly referred to in that case. It refers mostly to the paper version, mostly. If not, in these modern times, actually. We use the word email, okay, for what previously was, expressed with the word letter. Okay. Park can be parking a car, and can also be the green areas. Okay. And also something else here. Let's make a little pause and clarify that you might have also seen or noticed that besides having different meanings, the words change the word type also. Okay, so the word type also changes. Okay, for example, park a car is a verb, but for the mention about the green area, it turns into a noun. Okay, so it's the same word with different word type. Okay. Type then is also a verb, and type is it can be to type letters in a keyboard, or it can also be type of, like kind of, tipo de in Spanish. Okay. All right. So for example, having this item in consideration, in knowledge, can be useful, for example, for that concept, of knowing. Also, that take into account that sometimes and many times, this aspect of these words changing meaning, are many times, what I mean is that context is something, that is very importantly also taken into account for this kind of stuff. Okay, we mentioned that too. Okay, you see there are many things that can be added, and also stuff, okay, it's just many things that can be said, sometimes about these different items. So we're just trying to make it as complete as possible, as I always say. And word order, moving on to the next item. Word order between Spanish and English is around 80% the same. You got an example here. The house is big, we live in it. La casa es grande, vivimos en ella. So, yes, you can see that the similarity between Spanish and English, in the word order, okay, it's very, very similar, okay? Just as it says here, around 80%, maybe 70 sometimes. It may, vary depending on, many, many factors. But basically, it's very, very similar, okay? The example here, the house is big, we live in it. La casa es grande, vivimos en ella. Okay, so if you check these two sentences, you can see that besides we live, that translates as vivimos, okay, two words that which just one is the equivalent. Okay, besides that, the words coincide one by one, literally. Okay, take just some seconds to check that. Okay, because it's actually literally that way. Okay, this is something very interesting to know too. Okay, to know that for the most part, you're gonna find precisely this, a major percentage of coincidence, okay, in the word order between Spanish and English. This we could also mention here about trying to think in English, okay, which is different to, for example, which we could I just thought about this from this item. For example, that people sometimes may think in Spanish and translate it into English. Something like that may happen. Okay. sometimes that may work, and sometimes that may make things unnecessarily more difficult. Okay, so that depends. Okay, but what I wanted to say is that, again, at least just as a concept. Okay, this is gonna be useful undoubtedly. Okay, for you, because with this reference, with this conceptual reference, with this reference, you can know precisely just simply this. Okay, that Spanish and English have very similar word order. Okay, so that makes it. These are things that, of course, also of course we say that are intended to make things easier for you. Of course, okay, we of course refer to this. Okay, we mean this, and taking into account that aspect about this. Okay. Then, for example, word conjugation is much easier in English than Spanish. Well, that's really actually speaks for itself. Okay. You can see here the examples. Okay. So in Spanish, to speak would be hablar. Okay. The neutral or the infinitive is hablar. Okay. Yo hablo, tú hablas, él, ella, eso habla, nosotras hablamos, ustedes hablan, ellos, ellas hablan. Okay. You can see how the word changes a lot. Okay. Even from the infinitive version, and then conjugating it, and you can see how it varies a lot. What happens in English? It's all speak, except for the third person. Okay. Where you just add an S at the end. Okay, so you can see how much easier English is with the conjugation. And well, then we could mention about other time tenses and stuff, but we're gonna leave it there. Okay, so not to make it too long. But this is also the same in other time tenses. Okay. Okay, moving on. English doesn't have a constant, always the same sounds for pronouncing letters and words, while Spanish does. Example, see for example how A can have different sounds. Apple, wall, paint, car, create. Okay, so have you checked that? Have you noticed the difference between letter A in those words? How it changes? Okay, it changes. Quite a lot. It actually changes a lot from word to word. Okay, where in apple, for example, it's a, and in wall, it's all. So it's almost like it turns almost like from an A, from an A actually, to almost like an O, okay, in wall, okay, in these examples. Paint, A, okay, they're combined with letter I also. So that's something else, okay, if it's combined with something else, okay. Car, okay. Create, EA, okay, something similar to paint, okay, and this is just 4 or 5 words here, okay, for examples, okay. If you read any text or whatever, you can start seeing how this characteristic repeats all the time. Okay, it's just all over English language. Okay, it repeats in all the language, so you can see we could say hundreds of examples. Okay, in Spanish it's more constant. Okay, by the way, I'm just going to explain that briefly. In Spanish, letters always sound the same. Okay, so you can form any word knowing that a, it's always gonna sound a, okay, And having said that, if you ask about if there are any exceptions, yes, there are some exceptions, but those are very, very few, okay, and very specific, okay. So yes, that's it, okay. In Spanish, it's much more constant, okay. A, it's always a. It's always e, and so on, okay, basically, okay, except for the exceptions as I mentioned. For example, the word que or quien, okay, you have q, u, and e, okay, the word que, for example. So the letter U doesn't sound. That's, I think I'm not forgetting any other exception. I'm not sure. I would have to check in that theory references, but in principle, I remember that example. But it's basically, just in any case of very, very little, those very little exceptions. Okay. So, for example, we could compare here English. Basically, we could say that has a way more easy conjugation. Okay, as we saw, but has more difficult pronunciation. Okay, to know how the words are gonna sound. Okay, that sometimes can be, something, quite difficult for the students, to get used to the letters, which they don't really know how they're gonna sound, okay? As they learn the language and see new words and try to read new words, okay? Because there is basically, like no constant to it, okay? It just varies, in different ways, and though sometimes there can be some, references about this, like double O, sounds like ooh, and those kind of things. It is difficult to find in English constants in pronunciation. There are just, maybe generalities, if you want, okay, about that stuff, but in principle, it just varies a lot. So we don't consider, okay, in principle, any rules about that. Maybe just a little here and there reference, but we mostly just learn, okay, the words. For the most part, okay, you can see some, examples, that how are, for example, how are most words with these letters gonna sound, okay, but that's just a reference, because then there are also exceptions probably from those theory references, for example. So basically the thing is that for the most part, the pronunciation, will be learned, over time just by repetition, okay? Because there, as we said, there's not much that can be learned, anyways from pronunciation, constants, because there's not actually much of it, okay? That's what we are saying. Okay, some words can be said differently according to modisms, region, usage, etc. Like, well, data or data, coupon or coupon, and either or either. Well, have you spotted any other? You may want to pay attention to English speakers if you practice with any material that's spoken in English. Okay, so this is something else that has to do with pronunciation, okay? It's just this, okay? From region to region, or time to time, whatever, pronunciation of words may vary, okay? And it's just that, but people, of course, don't have any difficulty with this. They they perfectly understand each other, and there's no issue with this, okay? Because it's just a detail, okay? So then finally, a game for closing. Have you ever found words in English difficult to pronounce, or which you may doubt how to say? I invite you to write them down. Okay, so here I wrote some examples. Words like literally, okay, or asterisk, or order. Can you think of any other? Okay, so I wrote those examples there. What you can do is to separate the words, in, as much, syllables or whatever, however as you want, okay? It can be 2 or 3 parts, whatever. But what you find best, okay, to practice, the word, okay, in parts. Because in that way, and of course, in a low speed, okay, that's gonna help you, learn, and actually get to the sound, okay. While literally is, a kind of a difficult word, okay, at least for I could say, probably for most Spanish speakers, and that's precisely because it has a combination of sounds that don't appear at all, okay, in Spanish, okay, and even less combined in that way, okay. But as I was saying, the tip here is to separate in parts. For example, literally, literally, literally. Okay? You can just repeat after me, take your time, maybe pause the video, whatever. Always remember that. So, literally. Okay, have you got that? Or ash rich. Okay, again, you can separate the word ash rich. Ash rich. Okay? Okay. If you have found any other words that you have found difficult to pronounce, just write them, and you can practice them. Okay, and just getting to the end of this audio class. Yes, it can be, the exercise here says that you can write around 5 to 10 words you find difficult to pronounce, or that you may doubt how to, okay, but because that can happen too, okay, sometimes you may doubt how to say a word, okay. Of course, for that you have the online dictionaries, where you can listen to the pronunciation, okay. Well, here is the suggestion about the as we said, about the speed and about the separation and the repetition. Okay, here there are some more words, okay, like cartridge. Sixth, well, this word is a place in England. That word is has nothing to do with what the letters that it has, but well, that word is pronounced Worcestershire, okay. So sometimes, very few times, but in English that happens too, that the word, also English being, not only English being, as we mentioned before, a language that seems to have no pronunciation constants, okay. Besides that, there are also words like this one, okay, that seem to just, change completely, the what, one would assume the word, how the word sounds, okay. But well, these are some exceptions you can find, and well, it's just that. Clothes, Lincoln, or Lincoln, I have to check if the last L sounds or not. I think sometimes that may vary, I don't know, but it should be Lincoln or Lincoln, okay, without the last L. And comfortable, comfortable, okay? Okay, people, so this is pretty much it. And there was another point that I want to mention, which is that in we didn't add it here, but we mentioned it, in previous posts, so you can check that out, if you want. It's that in between Spanish and English, there are a lot of words that are pretty much the same, okay? Like audio, okay, or planet, or chocolate, for example. There are words that are written exactly the same, okay, letter by letter, and there are others that we just say that they really sound very similar, like planet. Okay. What we say is that there are many words, okay, that are written exactly the same, or that either sound very similar, or are written in a very similar way. For example, planet, okay, planeta. You just add an A and you got the same word, okay. So it is written, it can be as we said, exactly the same, or the word audio, for example, like we mentioned, those words chocolate are exactly the same, in the written form, okay. The pronunciation, of course, varies, but you see that's another, and we close with this. And so this last item that we just added it's something that it's also too gonna make your knowledge about English more complete, okay. And that can also this last item, for example, help you when you're speaking, okay. Mostly when you need a more like instantaneity, in the moment stuff, because maybe if you're writing, you have time, to go to a dictionary, check, for words and stuff. But sometimes, for example, as I was saying, knowing about this, for example, having this as a concept, as a reference, that's what we talk about concepts, okay? Knowing this, for example, can be useful in conversations, okay? Because maybe, for example, in that way you can find a word, quicker, okay? And well, for example, okay? So these are, more or less, the reasons, why we study, this these items. If you have listened up to here, that we mentioned different points, different characteristics. Okay, also between Spanish and English. Okay, so that's it, people. I hope you found this useful. And if you got any question, any comments, any suggestions, remember you can leave it here in the post. And remember that always likes, shares, and all that is always appreciated. Okay, to to be able to reach more people. Well, so thank you and see you next time. Bye bye.